Hi everybody, David Nour. I want to welcome you to another session, another Periscope session on relationship development best practices. I'm delighted you're here. It's a little after 1 o'clock Eastern, and if you're a basketball fan or if you watched that game last night, how crazy was that? Get Inbound Leads, welcome. Glad you guys are here. And just North Carolina tying it up and winning it. It was just fantastic game. So glad you're here. I'm focused. Today's session is focused on really customer service efforts that companies try to do that I would say in some ways it's diluting their relationship benefits. And unfortunately in a lot of ways, and I love processes. I love efficiency. I love effectiveness. But sometimes you're cutting your nose to spite your face, right? Or you've heard penny wise, pound foolish. And by the way, if you've been to any of these before, I'm in my garage, and I love to get out here, and I work in this workspace, and it's just a good chance to get away from the calls and emails and the rest of. I'm writing the next book at the moment, so it's just a really good chance. Nat, welcome. Glad you're here. It's just a good chance to really think. By the way, Nat Pham recorded this video I saw predicting the basketball outcome last night. So huge kudos, man. I don't know who you know in the right places, but when North Carolina tied it up, I was like, this game is, they're going to win it. But kudos to Nat Pham for that prediction. So anyway, today's session, customer service. And what companies do, myths and misperceptions about your customer service efforts. And again, this is a motorcycle helmet. What I've learned is a lot of times ride with my son on back of the bike with me, or I ride with other people. And so an in-helmet communication system is really smart. And it's just a great way. You can listen to music, you can talk to other people, you can daisy chain these things for up to like 8 riders. It's just a good chance, especially if you're going to have a group that may separate. You got fast riders, you got slow riders. It's just a good chance to communicate. The challenge is the technology a lot of times is not quite there yet, right? You're talking about Wi-Fi, you're talking Bluetooth, you're talking really good intention and several different products that are on the market. But if they're too difficult to use, if they're too difficult to figure out or pair together, or you're riding and the wind noise and it's just not gonna be a whole lot of fun, and it defies the whole purpose of spending $200 or $300 on something that's supposed to make your life easier. And imagine, most of what comes with these things are fairly convoluted. And by the way, it's in 8 different languages, and so forget instructions for a second. Imagine calling an 800 number, and who are you? What model do you have? And if you get through an automated system and actually talk to a live person, who are you? What are you calling about? What system do you have? What helmet do you have? And just on and on and on. And now you spend it, an hour and a half on the phone with tech, what I call no customer service. And you're not any further along. Worst yet, have you tried calling your insurance company or credit card or bank lately? Right? Beyond the automated system, right? 15 digits to get anywhere. Then you finally get a person on the phone and they ask you all the questions that I just entered all this information. And by the way, I've been banking there, or I've been your insurance client for a whole bunch of years. Why don't you know any of this stuff about me? So I came up with 5 misperceptions about customer service, and specifically how they're ruining your business relationships. So here we go. And by the way, thanks for all those who've joined. I'd love for you to jump in. If you have likewise examples, if you have questions, comments, and as always, don't forget you can swipe to share this with your social network. And if you tap on the screen, you can also give it hearts, which gives me some indication that you like this topic, you like this approach. So number 1, customer service is not customer experience. Let me say it again. Customer service is not customer experience. Think about it a second. Me calling that 800 tech support, even if they do a good job, the fact that I can't find any of this information on their website, which is, by the way, the most convenient place for me to go, The fact that there's not a mobile app, or if there's a mobile app, it's kludgy, or it doesn't connect, or it's difficult to use. All those things dilute the experience, and you actually have maybe one decent blip of a good customer service, but the rest of it is not going to compel me to come back. So what I want you to think about is customer service really is sliver, a piece, a segment of the bigger picture. And if you really want repeat customers, if you want referral relationships, if you want your business relationships to produce results for you, you have to really think about the holistic journey. How do they find out about you? What's their impressions before they ever talk to you? Do you send them on a wild goose chase on your website or when they call in? Or do you direct them right to where they want and need the information they're searching for? So, and by the way, I tell most of my clients the relationship really starts after the sale, right? So what's your post-sale service like? What's your post-sale experience like? Does anybody ever call and say, listen, you bought our stuff, you bought my products, you bought my services. How was your experience? What did you like about working with us? What didn't you like about working with us? Those are all really critical in understanding the end-to-end journey, right? So customer service is a sliver, not of the bigger picture. Number two, service is an event, experience is a journey. And think about, as I said, the service after the sale, right? The journey really never ends. Because I may buy one, and most of us do this, right? We buy one of a kind or one item, and then we experience using it. And if it fails, did they repair it? Did they replace it? Then we may buy another one, right? If it's perishable, we'll continue to now buy, right? Razor blades to, consumables, right? To recommending others. So that journey really never ends. And I'm writing the next book, and I talk about this figure eight. We're always evaluating in the middle, right? We may consider, we may buy, we'll come back to evaluation, we're going to purchase, we're going to use it, we'll come back to evaluation. And it's this ongoing kind of figure eight. So you got to really think about service as an ongoing effort, not just an event. That's really critical. So we're talking about, for those of you who just joined, 5 misconceptions about customer service and how they may be ruining your relationships. Number 1 was customer service is not customer experience. Number 2, automation can actually create more of a relational distance than the operational efficiency that it creates. Think about it a second. The automated phones, right? If I have 15 different options, I don't know about you, I can't remember all of them. So I got to go back and what was that option again? And right, you're almost giving me too many choices. And I'm 3 levels deep on the automated menu and I still haven't spoken to a live person, that's what I desperately want. So is that automation efficiency and effectiveness? Yes. But is it creating a bigger gap with the people, customers, employees, partners that you want to build and nurture a relationship with? That's what my fear is. Sometimes automation can become an overkill, right? So as I said, have you tried calling your mortgage, credit card, insurance, any of those? And in my experience, unfortunately, the bigger the company gets, the less personal it gets. Most of you know my story. I'm originally from Iran, and if you've traveled, if you've been in other parts of the world, my father in his 80s, right, still shops at the same butcher, still goes to the same bakery, still goes to the same place where he buys dairy. And they know him, and they've known him, and they know what my mother likes and dislikes, and cut up the meat this way, or make sure the bread is not too hot or too cold, right? All those preferences we all have. And unfortunately, the bigger the company gets, the less personal it gets, the less caters to each of our kind of personal needs. And that's what I don't want you to lose sight of, right? Again, an old mentor drove into me, treat every customer like they're your only customer. And that's what, unfortunately, a lot of automation gets away from. I think there's a hysterical ad. I forget who it's by, but it shows a person calling customer service, and now you can talk to the automation system, and it says representative, right? And then agent, and then representative, right? It doesn't understand it, and an hour later, agent. So it's just automation. And I've been, by the way, blessed by technology. I love technology. I just don't want you to use automation to create even more of a distance. If you call my office, it is an automated system, but it says to speak directly to David Nour, press 1. And most people that call my business, my company, want to talk to me, so they just hit one and come right through, and it rings at my desk. But automation can also be a huge friend, because if I'm not at my desk, it can ring in my cell phone. And this feature in our VoIP system that has, find me, follow me, right? So number one, customer service is not customer experience. Number two, automation can create more of a relational distance than the operational efficiency that it can create. Number three, unfortunately, there's I call it a Grand Canyon-sized difference between Mahogany Row and the mailroom. And by that I mean, Mahogany Row, executives, right, create a vision, create a strategy, create direction, here's where we're going, here's how we're going to get there. And in some ways, I wrote down Tower of Babel, right? A client that will go unnamed recently sent me a 44-page PowerPoint on their strategy. I'm on page 6, and I told them this. I said, I think I'm fairly intelligent, but I couldn't understand who's the audience, what are you trying to say, because it was full of MBA talk, and what is it that you want me to think, feel, or do differently? There's the strategy. You go around the company and ask 10 different people what business they're in, and you get 15 different answers, right? There's Mahogany Row. There's where the execution, there's where what we do and how we do it every day breaks down. So if you talk about a customer service strategy, right, we want happy customers, we want to solve problems, first call resolution, we want to have a great escalation process to really get things done. Are you measuring the right metrics? Are you compensating? Are you bonusing the right things? I don't know how many times you've seen this. We ask for A and we compensate B. We ask for a certain criteria and we respond to something very different. It can't help but confuse the recipient. So I wrote down a disconnect. So Tower of Babel, speaking different languages, lost in translation, right? It's amazing. To this day, we don't clarify. Okay, here's what I mean when I say exceptional customer experience. Notice I didn't say great customer service. That's a transaction. Here's what I mean when I say exceptional customer experience, right? Here's how we're going to make the customer feel when we deliver an exceptional experience, right? So if that's not consistently mentioned, articulated, clarified, it's going to get lost. And you're going to get different people that hear different things. Potentially the signals you're sending is not the signals that are being received, right? The last point I wrote here is corporate baggage, right? I don't know about you. I've sat in meetings where the comment is, well, that'll never work. Now I'm naturally curious, right? Why? Well, we tried it 20 years ago and didn't work then. Okay, so let's never try anything and pretty much work ourselves into, being completely irrelevant to the market we're trying to serve, right? So the corporate baggage is what keeps a lot of customer service efforts from really building and nurturing great relationships. Number 4, so we're talking about 5 misconceptions about customer service and how they can ruin your relationships. 1, customer service is not customer experience. 2, automation can create actually more of a distance between you and the relationships that are important to you. 3, there's a Grand Canyon-sized difference between the strategy and execution, right? We got to constantly work on bringing those closer together. 4, most of your analysis are lagging indicators, not leading ones. I showed you my helmet, right? Can you imagine me wearing this helmet and trying to ride my motorcycle that way? Not going to work. It doesn't work in your car. It certainly doesn't work in your motorcycle, not for more than a few feet anyway. By the way, in motorcycles, the bike will go where you look. So if most of your analysis are lagging indicators, like surveys, what kind of response rate are you getting from surveys? Single digits? By the way, surveys are results of what you've done in the past. So surveys are not necessarily getting you the most useful information. Then there's tools like Net Promoter System, right? NPS. It's supposed to get your finger on the pulse of one question: would you ever recommend us? And NPS is interesting, but it doesn't tell you the whole story, because the real benefit of it is in the comments they tell you. So let me give you an example. You ask a customer, how was your experience with us? And they say, fine. I don't know about you, but fine isn't exactly a raving success or raving review of your efforts, right? So if you don't analyze that text, if you don't really get that rich content of how they feel about you and how was their experience, you don't really fully understand kind of what they went through. So I like sentiment analysis. I like social. So again, making it practical, making pragmatic. Are you following your customers on various social sites? Do you do your due diligence on the individuals in the company and the industry before you ever go visit them? If you're not doing that, if you're not carving out a half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour before a call, before a visit to do that, you're walking in blindly, right? And you can't really deliver the best experience for them. And as such, you can't really nurture your relationships as effectively as you could. So we're talking about 5 misconceptions about customer service and how they're ruining your business relationships. 1 was customer service, not experience. 2, automation can create more of a distance, right? Relational distance versus operational efficiency. 3, there's a Grand Canyon-sized difference between strategy, right, and execution that happens. 4, most of your analysis about your customer service is lagging indicators, right? You're looking in the rearview mirror versus really thinking ahead. 5, customer service is not a department. It's not a function. It has to become the cultural DNA. If you've ever been down to the Disney World, the parks, they were one of my clients for a number of years, you seldom see a piece of trash laying just around. Periodically, sure. But they're taught that they call them associates instead of employees. Associates are not going to walk by a piece of trash. So that's a cultural environment, right? One of my clients has really struggled with quality issues the last several years. So they just hired a quality czar, for lack of a better word, from GE, right? Fantastic experience, great background. The challenge is that's an uphill battle. And they're putting in processes and trying to make it efficient and effective. But it's a culture that's just allowed poor quality to become the norm. That's kind of how they do what they do, right? And it's just a really difficult role to try to change that. So customer service, just like quality, can't be a department. It's not a function. It has to become part of the organization's DNA, right? It has to become part of what they believe. It has to become part of what they're about. By the way, if you're on LinkedIn, on that topic, I just shared and you can look it up on YouTube. Heineken, the beer company, recently interviewed candidates for a marketing role that was part of their sports marketing. And you got to go find this video. You got to watch it. And if I remember, I'll send out I'll tweet about the link again. But it was a fascinating way that Heineken interviewed these candidates. And the way they interviewed them was, and I wrote it down, a high predictor of how they would behave on the job versus what they would say. So again, if you're thinking about customer service, if you're thinking about how do we build a culture of customer service that really deepens those relationships, you've got to change your interviewing process. You've got to change your processes. You've got to look at your automation. You've got to really think about a more holistic relationship, not just a transactional service. You solve my service issue, you've created a positive transaction. That service has to fit in the bigger experience picture, and you got to think more holistically in terms of relationships. So, my name is David Nour. I'm author of a bunch of books, Relationship Economics, Return on Impact. I'm writing the next one, tentatively called Co-Create. The website is just nourgroup.com. I hope if this has been useful to you, feel free to share it with others. I hope you'll come back. Typically every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern, I'll share some tips, some best practices that I hope be useful to you. And I would always welcome your feedback. So thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. I hope this was useful to you. If you missed this session, I'd encourage you to watch the replay. It'll be on Periscope, but also Catch, K-A-T-C-H, catch.me/David Nour is a good place to see both this and the other recordings. A couple of people joined late. Thanks for coming. Hope you'll watch the replay. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.